Hey folks, it's Myron from the Tap Out Wrestling Podcast. Today I am joined by Mike Parrow. How you doing today?
I am doing good.
Wonderful, wonderful. Been busy in the business lately. Got back from Japan. How's that go?
Japan was one of the most amazing experiences I've had in my wrestling career. You know, as a pro wrestler, it's like one of those things you want to do. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things as a pro wrestler once you start, you know, but for just being a fan of the business, Japan was important to me, to go there. Especially for me and my tag team partner, Odinson, you know. So getting the opportunity to wrestle in All Japan's famous tag tournament was probably one of the greatest things I've done so far. It was surreal because, you know, you've had legends take part in this tournament, and, you know, I followed it from coming from the NWA national title tournament to going to that tournament. So to me, wrestling history is important, and to be able to just be a small part of it was just an absolute honor for me.
Cool. Now your partner Odinson used to wrestle a lot around here in Georgia. Got to see him a lot. I've not got to see you live yet. I've seen you on MLW. My daughter, who hates wrestling, went to a show with me and took a picture with Odinson, and she was probably 13 at the time. She goes, "Dad, I felt warm and safe." I'm like, I guess
it's funny is because, you know, I'm big onto tag team wrestling.
Yeah.
I think it's important for tag teams to have combination moves, to be a unit, be a team, and not two singles wrestlers put together. I think that ruins. I think when organizations do that, I absolutely hate it because I think it ruins tag team wrestling.
I agree.
I, you know, probably get in trouble for saying this. I hate when there's tag tournaments and the predominant teams aren't tags. Like ROH just had a tournament, and the predominant teams aren't tag teams.
Yes.
They're teams that are groups. That's not a tag team. It waters down the product for me, because a lot of guys are out there perfecting their craft as a tag team, just like any singles wrestler is perfecting his craft as a singles wrestler.
Yes.
So you're saying to me as a fan or as a wrestler that you guys really don't care about tag team wrestling. That's what you're saying. So it's important to me to see tag teams.
It's a hard time for tag teams because they're not getting all the WWE is not really focusing on them.
Well, I think that's a false statement. I think Triple H is very much focused on them with NXT. He's hired many of them, and there is a lot of tag teams in NXT.
Yes.
And they move them to the main show, and I think it's a two issue because there is a lot of good tag teams. Like I think Sheamus and Cesaro have melded together very well. I think the New Day is an amazing tag team. You know, the Usos are different level. You know, they're amazing. So saying that there isn't tag teams is it's not the tag teams that you're used to, but it's the new, more evolved tag team that have a broader move set. Now, you know, what I was saying is a lot of the independent companies, because they think that WWE is going away from it. The problem I see from a lot of people is WWE does something, so everybody else tries to make WWE happy. It's the weirdest concept. It's this concept that every promotion has to do what WWE does because if somehow you don't want to do something they don't. Because I've always been taught this as when I was young, and especially from college. I was taught there's a difference between proactive and reactive. Successful people in anything, sports, business, and in life are proactive. They make decisions. You know, they're setting the trend per se. Then there's reactive. Those are people that, example, those are companies that, oh, this guy got famous on the internet, let's hire him. That's a reactive thing, you know. So when you become successful, you can be reactive because Disney's reactive now because they're just a consumer. They don't have to create anymore because they are the top dog. So, you know, WWE WWE doesn't have to be proactive anymore because they're Disney. So the problem you have is you have people reacting to an already reactive thing. So, you have this stalemate that's going on. And, you need somebody down on the indies right now to jump at it, make some decisions, and be willing to put your cards on the table. And right now it feels like everybody's trying to feel, because we're in a wrestling boom, it feels like everybody's trying to feel each other out. Nobody wants to take the first step to see if it works, because right now it's a chess game. Who's going to make the right decisions and be successful? So that's the problem we're running into with this wrestling boom, is the companies have appeared. Now everybody's trying to slowly see who's going to make the first step on making a big decision. Because in reality, no company has made a big decision yet. Not one person. Why? There's no big decision that has been made. Can you name a company right now that isn't WWE that's made a big decision in the past 2 years?
No, outside of just, announcing a new promotion, nobody has done anything dramatically that different.
Exactly. They're following the same program. And when you're following the same program, you're not stepping outside the box. And right now is the best time in wrestling, because wrestling's very cyclic. But, right now we're at a different time. This is a wrestling boom. This is the first time in when I started in 2009, wrestling was dead. Dead. Completely dead. I would go to shows and there'd be 5 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's in Georgia. Now I'll go see those same shows, draw hundreds, even 1,000. Wrestling's at a boom period. Fans want it back. Fans are hungry. But fans also aren't going to stay hungry if you don't feed them.
Yeah.
And if you keep giving them the same stuff they can see everywhere else, why are they going to go to you? Yeah. Because now there's other people on the table. There's other things they can choose from. So right now is the best time for any company to take a chance, to step outside the box, to actually be innovative, to have new ideas, because the whole idea is to grow the business. That every pro wrestler's job is to grow the business. That's our job, because we're all technically independent contractors. Yeah. So our job is to make more business. And we do that by drawing in more fans. The more fans each of us draw in, grows the business exponentially. So if I get 5 fans and Odinson gets 5 fans, that's 10 fans. Yeah. Those 10 fans tell 2, 3, 4 people. They bring fans. And eventually the idea is you grow a fan base. And then when you grow a fan base, everybody on the show has a fan base. All those fans come. Now everybody benefits from you doing your job correctly.
Yeah, I think a lot of people miss the fact that they're out there trying to draw more people to buy tickets for a show. They're basically a walking advertisement for the program they're on all the time. And when I was a huge wrestling fan, growing up, and I had, I would go out of my way just to go to a show because I didn't know what. I was a huge Mick Foley fan. Oh yeah, me too.
When Mick came to New York, I grew up in upstate New York. So when they came to the Pepsi Arena in Albany, I would wait for, in line at 5 a.m. at FYE just a chance to get front row tickets.
Oh wow.
Just so I could see Mick Foley. Nobody else, Mick Foley.
Yeah.
Everybody else was a benefit afterwards. But that's what I'm saying is I might be going for one person, but then I become fans of other people. And that's how wrestling really works. Yeah. Is certain people might not know who me and Odinson are, and they're coming for somebody else on the show, but now it's my job to draw them in and become a fan of me too.
Yep.
So that's how wrestling at its core works. That's why it's been so successful over time, is because we're able to, it's a very, in its core, a very guerrilla kind of feel to it, very grassroots. Is can I get you to like me or hate me? But either way, I want you to come back and do either or.
Yeah. That sounds exactly like what Al Snow said in the seminar my friend Nick attended. where he said, your job is to sell tickets. Your job is to entertain the fans. And he asked who's the most over wrestler of all time? I mean, who's and he said it's the guy that drew the most money. Because that's what everybody's trying to do, is bring in enough fans to draw the most money to everybody benefits from it.
Yeah. You know you're doing your job correctly when you see the fans react to you after the show or before the show. That's what I try to tell people. You know, if you're seeing fans wait for you outside, if you're seeing fans, clamoring for you before the show, you're doing your job correctly. That's a reality. You know, that's what you're going for. You're going for everything around the fact of you're actually doing your craft, because your craft, you do well. Now, can you get those people to bring more people to grow? And, Al's completely right. The Rock and Stone Cold successfully made multi-people millionaires.
Yes. Yeah.
Multi-people. They made them millionaires just by drawing the money. So it's like, you can't get mad. I never understood the concept is like, they always told you when you first started wrestling, never talk about your pay. And I always laugh at that. And I was like, cause I have a degree in political science and I graduated college and all that. And I played football at Coastal, and my friends are in the NFL. I know exactly what they make. It's public knowledge of what they make. I have never once been jealous, and I blocked for him. Like they're in the NFL for something I did. Why would I be mad at them? I'm like, congratulations to them. Yep. Now, would I wish I had that paycheck? Of course I do. So I'm going to work hard to get that paycheck. I was like, this concept of jealousy is this old timey thing that is just so stupid. And I felt like it was an old way to control the guys and girls in the business.
Yeah.
Like, rather than like, they're like, do not talk about your pay. I'm like, the only one that helps is the promoter.
Yeah.
Literally, that only helps because we're independent contractors. We can ask for any amount of money we want. Now, are we going to get that amount of money? Probably not. But you're allowed to negotiate and ask for this price.
Oh yeah.
And it's very hard to negotiate when you don't know other people's prices. Like,
bingo.
Exactly. And I was just thought this was a weird concept. Like, when I got into the wrestling business, because I didn't come from like the pro wrestling world or anything like that. I came from the sports world. Yeah. So the sports world, this was a common thing. Like, everybody knew, like, agents know, so they can negotiate, on their players' contracts. It's very hard to negotiate contracts when you don't know what other people are making. Mm-hmm. And that is a way that was controlling the business for a very long time. Now that sort of died off. All of us kind of know what each other is making because we're always on the road together, and we don't get mad. Like, we obviously know Cody Rhodes is making more money than us. Yeah. I am not going to go push Cody Rhodes down some stairs. You know what I mean? I'm like, I need him on the show. Yeah. I'm like, it's how I'm going to get more fans. Oh, like, exactly. So that concept always made me laugh. It was like, oh, everybody's going to be jealous. They're going to do something to you. I'm 6'4", 300 pounds. Give him a go. Give it a go. If you want to shoot on me, I'm like, that ain't going to happen. I'm bigger than you. I was like, especially now in the state of independent wrestling, when I'm a giant at 6'4", it's always weird to me noticing walking in the locker rooms right now and us literally being the biggest guys. Yeah. Because, wrestling went through this whole period of just small guys. Yeah. And, wrestling is in desperate need of larger men. Yeah. And larger women. It's just in desperate need all around. Like, because wrestling is a variety show. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the reasons we had a lot of smaller wrestlers was this whole, 50-50 booking philosophy that we went through, the Daniel Bryan era, where everybody was just a wrestler and they were exactly matched evenly. So everything was 50-50. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not life.
Yeah.
The Super Bowl itself isn't 50-50. That's why you watch it. Like wrestling does some stupid things sometimes, and that's a stupid philosophy.
Yeah.
Like this idea that, no, people like underdogs. I played sports all my life. Mm-hmm. I knew certain games we were going into, we're probably going to get our ass whipped. Do I want that to happen? No, I want to win. Yeah. So I'm going to try my damnedest to win, but I obviously know the player in front of me is really good.
Yeah.
So that philosophy, that's what really hurt wrestling for the past 12 to 15 years and why it had died off.
Yeah.
Right now we're seeing an abundance of characters and different sized guys for the first time in 12 years, over a decade. Think about that.
Yeah.
Over a decade, everybody was around the same size.
Yeah. Oh, you're 100% right. Like I just talked to Brandon Hughes. He's been on the show a couple of times. And he's doing great with his bit.
Yeah. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
He's heavy. Trust me, I've powerbombed him. He's extremely heavy.
And he looks different. He looks different than everybody you see. And that's, back when I was watching wrestling in the 80s, that's what guys look like. You had guys like him. And it went away from it.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, your show can't be all the same size guy.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, listen, I do understand you can only take from the pool that you have. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of situations, a lot of littler, more athletic guys get into it because we've shunned big men away from wrestling.
Yeah.
We really have. And, it's a shame because I get it. The era of as Regal says, the era of the lumbering big man is over. You have to be more athletic.
Yeah.
But we are. We come from a generation of sports that are faster, quicker, not lumbering.
Yeah.
I'm not the most graceful guy in the ring, but I can go.
You can go what? What's your 40 time? You're like
not every big man has to do a moonsault.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, it's
we've come to this era that fans are like, well, he can't do it. First of all, I can do a moonsault. Second, nobody's going to take my moonsault.
Yeah.
So I go, I'm legitly 300 pounds. Uh-huh. I think fans forget this is because we do these because football used to do it. Do you remember when football used to overestimate stats?
Yeah.
Football did it very much in the 80s and the early 90s, where they were giving these weird stats that weren't true. And then we got to the real system, especially fantasy football made this happen because people are interested in stats. It's this quarterback is Drew Brees being under 6 foot is a big deal. Mm-hmm. So you're like, wow, he's a little quarterback. Tom Brady only being 6'4", he's not huge. It's big. That is big, but you had Peyton Manning being 6'7". So wrestling hasn't gone away from that because I see what happens is, and this is terrible, is they listed, I'll give this, they listed Alexander Hammerstone, and I love him, and I think he's great, but they listed him at 6'3". What happens when you put me at 6'4" in the ring with him? No, honestly, my height is actually 6'4".
Yeah.
My stats aren't grotesquely blown up. I purposely make them give them my real stats from the doctor. Mm-hmm. Just because I think that's one of the things that have hurt big men.
Yeah. And
then it hurts them in turn because when they stand in the ring, people are going to be like, so is Parrow 6'7"?
Yeah.
Somebody tweeted we were in a ring with everybody and somebody tweeted, Parrow just looks so much bigger than everybody else. No, it's just because you told everybody they were this height. And then when somebody that height actually gets in the ring, it makes them all look little.
Yeah.
So now, to me, that's something that hurts the business.
Yeah. I think 225 is the most exaggerated
yeah,
number
because now it hurts both competitors in the ring.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because now, you've told everybody that this guy is this big, which was a great illusion until the guy that's actually that big is in the ring. So what is that guy that is actually that height supposed to do at that point? No, but that's a real question.
No,
what is he supposed to do at that point? Because you've built this guy's moveset around the fact that he's huge. But now what am I supposed to do when I'm actually that size? So fans are going to be like, okay, because this concept fans are dumb is totally stupid. Mm-hmm. This is the information age.
Yeah.
Everybody has a phone. Everybody knows what's going on. It's instant information daily. So we can't use these old archaic concepts of kayfabe and all these things that we've done since like the 80s because it doesn't work anymore. And that's one of those archaic things that don't work anymore because you put Barrington in there. Barrington's really big.
Yeah.
He's huge.
Oh yeah.
So what happens to the people in the ring with him? It buries their size because you just told the fans this dude is this height, and then Barrington rolls up and it's like, but Barrington's legitly like 6'2", 6'3". Mm. Like he's a big boy. You have Barrington roll up in there and it's going to be like, oh, so how tall is Barrington? Yeah. It's just one of those things as a big man that I think have hurt big men is in wrestling is because there was so many more agile, smaller guys. We've gave them inflated heights and movesets to fit the fact that there wasn't larger wrestlers. So they wrestle that larger wrestler style. And I think that's what the problem we're having right now is this identity crisis between a lot of characters is because we had that whole era that guys had to take the role of the big man because there wasn't any big men.
Yeah. It makes sense. Makes perfect sense. Now, how did you develop your moveset? I mean, it's a big man style, but who teaches that?
Well, I was lucky. I went to what I would call the Harvard of Wrestling Schools, Team 3D. I learned from Bubba and Devon. Yeah. So I learned from two big, classically, not that they weren't huge, but they weren't little. Bubba's 6'4", Devon's 6'2", they're big guys. So, they taught us how to wrestle as big men. Now, granted, they also taught because we have luchadors at our school, and I was lucky. I went there during when TNA was in its heyday, not TNA now. TNA when it had Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, and Kurt Angle, and Hulk Hogan, and I was lucky to, I had Homicide come in and teach me train wrestling. So I got an abundance of wrestling knowledge that I should have probably never had, right away. I got to have the opportunity to work and learn from, Scott Steiner would come in. Wow. And so I would get to just pick their brains. And coming from the football world, it was easier for me to sit and listen and understand, because I'm like, wow, I'm literally getting a wealth of knowledge. I still have notebooks full of just stuff they would spit out.
So it makes you more coachable.
And I go back to it. I still go back to it because I'm one of those people that my whole career, football to now, I know I am not the best athlete. I know I'm going to have to do everything in my power to stay at an even level with everybody else. Mm-hmm. So as an offensive lineman, you learn little tricks to be better. Not everybody's, like I said, not everybody's at the same athletic level, but you put in work and you become good. And that's what, they'll probably hate me for saying this, but the reason I chose Bubba and Devon was I wanted to know how they made money. Because everything, if you look at they shouldn't have never made it. They shouldn't have never been multimillionaires. But they made so much money, and they're an iconic tag team. I wanted to personally know why. Because when I was younger, I had a coach tell me, you don't want to ever learn basketball from Michael Jordan. Because Michael Jordan doesn't know why Michael Jordan's good.
Oh.
Because Michael Jordan's never had to struggle. You can tell all these stories that he shot so many free throws. Those free throws were still going in. like, oh, Michael Jordan practiced all the time. Like, no, Michael Jordan didn't practice all the time. Like, legends get embellished over time. Some people are just athletically good. So, I always wanted to go for the trainer that had a struggle to make it, because I want to know what his little secrets were. So that's why I really chose Bubba and Devon. Not because I was a huge fan of tag team wrestling at the time, or I was a huge fan of the Dudley Boys, because I wasn't. And I chose them because I knew they knew how to make money, and I knew they knew how to wrestle, and I wanted to know how they did it, because they literally started from nothing and became something. Mm-hmm. And that's why I chose them. And that's how I always approach wrestling when I ask questions. I want to know how. And I try to take that knowledge, because every wrestler vets are amazing, because they just want to talk and tell you. But a lot of the younger guys don't ever want to ask them. Yeah, but it's the craziest thing. And I'm talking about real vets. I'm not talking about vets that never really did anything. Because there's a lot of people on the Indies like, I'm a veteran of 20 years. I'm like, of Georgia? I was like, that's great, bro. But, if I need insurance, I'll come call you. You have to be careful in those things of who's really a veteran and who's not. Just because you've done something a long time doesn't mean you're a veteran. And it doesn't mean you're a good mechanic. Like, you could go to a mechanic that's been doing it for 20 years, but the guy still doesn't know how to fix a car. Yeah. Be very, as a young wrestler, just know who's really like a guy to ask questions to. I'm not saying don't respect that guy. I'm just saying, or woman, I'm like, just understand that, just know what questions you're asking.
Well, it's like getting political information off Facebook.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, you take what they say with a grain of salt. Yeah. Because, obviously, because a lot of the times you'll run into guys or girls that been in the business a very long time and just want the admiration. Mm-hmm. They're just there for the admiration. They just want to go, on Monday and say, hey, I wrestled this weekend at the water cooler. Yeah. Cause it's something cool to break the ice. And then there's others that have been like, I've been doing this, and now I'm on the Indies giving back. One, because I just don't feel like stepping away yet, and I want to give back. Mm-hmm. Ask those guys. They're going to give you some wealth of knowledge. It's like, I love talking wrestling with Billy Gunn. Like, one time me and Leo Rush were just, rolling around, just going over stuff. Leo was learning how to work a big man. I'm trying to get, work somebody smaller, quicker. Mm-hmm. Billy just gets in the ring and just breaks it down. The most basic what we are. Uh-huh. And it was just crazy. It was just like, and he had just been sitting there. He wasn't coaching. He just had been sitting there, and he just walks up into the ring and he just starts teaching. And literally within like 10 minutes, everybody's around the ring and just enamored by the knowledge he's spitting. And that's what I'm saying is like a lot of these vets want to help you. Mm. They're not out there maliciously trying to work against you. Like, they're taking my spot. No, they want to help. They want to grow the business. Their goal is to make money just like yours. Yeah.
That's one thing QT Marshall, we spoke about him earlier. Mm-hmm. He started that school here in Norcross, right by where we live in Gwinnett County. And he is doing a great job showing people, like, from his experience. And I've watched him teach, and he's amazing at it. Because he just wants to teach.
Well, QT's a student of the game. So, and we share the same philosophy. We went to the same wrestling school. So we share the same psychology of wrestling. So, I really like the way QT teaches, because he teaches the same philosophies that I understand and that I use in wrestling. So, I always tell people, find somebody that is also passionate about it. that is willing to break it down and talk to you, because QT does one thing very well, is he's able to break it down simply for you. And when you're able to break down moves simply for people and break out why you do them, it's easier to teach, because some people are just so smart, they talk above your head, and it's like they don't understand why you don't get a hip toss. Well, QT will break down every little part of the hip toss for you. So you could be the most athletic and get it right away. Like first try, boom, got it. It's in your moveset now. And then there's people that, like me, need to do it 50, 60 times to get the technique down. QT has the patience for the first student all the way to the guy that needs to take 50 times to do it. So that's one thing that's very unique about QT. He's able to take the time to have the patience to be like, he understands that everybody's going to get it on the first try.
Yeah. I mean, I learned from him, and I'm not a wrestler. I've never even stepped foot in a ring, but watching him teach, I learned something, which is weird. Yeah. He taught me, and I'm just some guy just sitting there watching.
He's able to break it down simply so that instead of talking over people's heads, he talks to you. And I think that's a very good quality to have in a teacher. Yeah. I think that's extremely important, is being able to communicate something that is a little bit more difficult in simple terms, and being able for everybody in that room, no matter what level you are, to understand and be able to do it. So, kudos to him for being able to do it.
Now, this is, we're recording on Super Bowl Sunday, and I know it won't be out in time before that. Who you got tonight? Who's your pick?
So part of me wants the Patriots to win, because I just think they're just, the Rams are the better football team, but the Patriots are the most prepared football team in history.
Yeah.
They know everything about you before you're going to do it. That's why they're so good. And they force people to make mistakes. That's what they're so good at. Look, Seattle, throwing the ball instead of running the ball. They win the Super Bowl. Atlanta, they were dominating the Super Bowl by just running it, and then all of a sudden just started throwing the football, because the Patriots make you play their game, and that's Belichick's genius, is he convinces you your game plan's wrong, even if you're winning. It's the craziest thing. And that's why he's one of the greatest coaches. And I kind of want to see the Patriots win, because I have a feeling that if they win tonight, probably wrong, but I could see both Brady and Belichick stepping away tonight.
Yeah, I've had several people tell me that.
I could see it. One, they get the ride off together in the sunset. They're already Hall of Famers. They already have more money than God. Yeah. Playing another couple years, coaching other years. This would be the perfect time to step away. You already have Josh McDaniels that is ready to take over the team. You have 12 draft picks, so you can get a quarterback and start rebuilding the team now, because everybody in your division is rebuilding anyway. So it's the best time to do it. And it would be a good end of an era. Yeah, it would be a perfect written story. Yeah. You couldn't write it any better. Now, do I think they're the better team? No. I think the Rams are, for a player, the best thing that could ever happen is the Rams win the Super Bowl. And what I mean for a player is the Rams went out and spent a ton of money just to get the best players. Philadelphia did it last year and they won. And if the Rams do it this year and win, then you're going to start seeing that more teams going after big contracts start going up again.
Okay.
So for a player, the best thing ever is for the Rams to win. But I would like to see the Patriots. I know they're the evil empire and everybody hates them, but I kind of want because it was the reason I wanted New Orleans in the Super Bowl. Not because I like the team. I'm a huge Cowboy fan, and once the Rams beat them, I was very upset. But I wanted to see Drew go out, because I know if Drew went to the Super Bowl this year, either or he would retire. Because you could see it in his face, that's what he wanted. So yeah, Drew Brees will come back next year for New Orleans, but I wanted him in the Super Bowl just because I knew that that's what he wanted. Because you can sometimes see it in a player's face when they're just ready, and he's ready. Mm-hmm. He's ready to go. Mm-hmm. Tom, I don't think is ready. Tom, I just think is like, it's the right thing to do because Tom himself wants to play till he's like 104 years old. So, and whatever TB12, juicing machines he got, kale water or whatever he's drinking, it's working because it also helps that Tom Brady's never touched or sacked or pressured. Yeah. So that also helps. It's harder because Tom Brady never takes off the pocket, never runs, so yeah, it helps to prolong your career when you're not getting hit. But I would like to see the Patriots.
So you said if the Rams win, it could affect the prices of contracts all over the NFL.
Oh yeah. If the Rams win, we're definitely going to have a lockout in 2020.
So we've got the same thing kind of going on in football. I mean, not football, in wrestling right now, where you've got people being competitive and contracts are going up.
But are contracts really going up? Are they?
Okay.
The only contracts, here's the thing. We've talked, AEW has appeared.
Yes.
But the only people under contract is the elite. So we really don't know their contracts. So we don't know if the contract went up or down. We just know that they have a contract, but they only have one show. Mm-hmm. So right now, I leave them out of talks for anything. Cause until they have, until they're playing in the game, right now they're like how, the AAU football or whatever they're calling themselves and XFL. Yeah. They're not real yet. So they're organized. Uh-huh. There's players, but they haven't had a game yet. Mm-hmm. So I usually don't say anything if they change the game until they're actually in the game. It's not a negative or a positive. It's just they're there, they're building, but they're not in the contract game yet. Do you see what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. 'Cause I agree with that. I think everybody is overreacting.
Oh yeah. I think it's, but everybody, when MLW started, everybody lost their mind. And as you can see, MLW is still trying to right the ship because it's hard. Wrestling is hard. Understanding contracts, understanding people, getting people, understanding what people really want. They're still going through their growing pains, period. They do a very good job of negotiating it, but, it's a hard process. Look at Impact. People are stepping away from Impact because, it's not what they want. Yeah. People, at the end of the day, contracts are going to start to need to go up, but is the money there for the contracts to go up is the real question. Mm-hmm. Because we have an abundance now of wrestling shows and people have choices. Now it's what they choose as their viewership. So, wrestling's at a weird time when it comes to this. Cable TV is dead. It's a dead brand. Mm-hmm. It really is. Millennials don't have cable.
Yeah.
They don't. I don't have cable. I haven't had cable since college. Like literally, my parents have cable. I'm like, it's a treat when I go home. I'm like, ooh, look, cable.
If my girlfriend was not obsessed with watching Bravo nonstop, we wouldn't have cable either. But every time I pitch it to her, she's like, no, we're keeping cable.
Exactly. But mostly is, I watch everything on my computer or my phone. Mm-hmm. So it's streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, WWE, like all the apps. That's how my generation and younger views everything.
Well, that's my favorite thing about MLW is the day after the TV show comes out, it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Where I can watch it. Anybody can watch it. But that was,
I always thought was a smart thing to do. And everybody's like, oh, but how about money? I go, it is money. I go, it's just a new form of people don't understand is when something's new, they're like, but how is that going to make money? It's just like when Impact announced that they were going to Twitch. I said that was brilliant. Mm-hmm. Nobody was watching them on Pop.
No.
No, nobody was. But now on Twitch, all millennials have Twitch. That's what their show is geared for anyways. Their show is geared for young adults. Mm. That's what it's geared for. I wish with Impact they would take more risks and not stupid risks, but I wish they would take risks. Like, I thought the striptease thing was stupid. I thought it was absolutely stupid. Like,
yeah, I don't know why they still do that, but
no, I wouldn't mind this. Here's the thing. I wouldn't even mind the striptease. I think WWE should have had a character that wanted to just be a diva instead of a women's wrestler. I thought that would have been brilliant.
That is unique.
That her whole thing is she wants to be a 2000s diva. And that's her whole gimmick. Like, that, I would have loved that. My problem with the striptease was it was done all wrong. It was written by, you could tell it was written by like a 2000 era straight guy. like you could tell it was. I was like, what? That whole segment, if I wrote it, I would have wrote it was like, yeah, Scott Steiner comes out, they do all that, and then he goes to get in the chair and she's like, no. And then she strips for a girl. That's edgy, that's new, that's different. Yeah. And Scott Steiner's just like shocked. And she goes, I'm not into old guys. Slaps his ass and gets out of the ring. Way better than, it just came off creepy to me. Why? I was like, to me, it came off, he was just like an old man in a chair. And I was like, I love Scott Steiner, but that's not Scott Steiner from 2000.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, use it as an appropriate way rather than everybody in that situation didn't come off looking good. And you know, I don't work for the company, so it's not like, but I just thought that was a weird segment because right after they say they're being edgy, that's not edgy, that's just shitty writing.
Yeah. Well, that's Attitude Era writing where even Attitude Era was a little better.
Attitude Era had no kids gloves. This was like, hey, let's try not to offend anybody, but let's try to be edgy at the same time. It's just the same thing when they did with on Raw. That was a terrible thing. The one with her assistant coming in, and I was like, wait, you could tell this is trying to be something they used to have, and there's no point to it. Like, Alexa Bliss was like in her locker room.
Yeah.
So it made no sense, period. First of all, the week following, she wears this whole lacy outfit that you can see right through it. So I'm like, so wait, he saw nothing and then you're offended. But this week on Raw, you come out basically in a lace outfit.
Yeah, that was like, weird.
And you sent your personal assistant. You obviously knew he was going to get you coffee. Like you sent him to go get you coffee in your sparkle cup. like what? You forgot that you sent him to go get coffee? Like you just forgot? Like where'd you go? Plus, her whole thing is women empowerment. Why didn't she just tell him to zip it up?
Yeah.
That's like I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm a gay guy. I don't know because I would have been like.
Well, could you help?
Like I'd be like, just zip it up, because her whole character is like the whole segment was she goes out with Paul Heyman and has this like power, but before it was like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. No, it should have been, zip it up. Yeah. What? You don't like this outfit?
You're 100% right about that. And that segment came off as so weird because it wasn't necessary or wasn't even, like you said, it didn't work. It didn't put anything over.
Well, the problem is we don't have writers that are going out of their way to tell good stories. That's a major problem we're having right now is we don't have anybody that's writing a really good story. There's no good stories right now in wrestling. A lot of good wrestlers.
Yeah.
A hell of a talented wrestlers. But is there a story right now you can sink your teeth into on any show? That's my question to you. Is there any, as a fan, is there any story that you're like, oh my God, this is like, cause I remember growing up, like there's stories that I'm like, wow, like Triple H and Stephanie was the most amazing story of all time, even though it was inappropriate, but it was still like, for that time, it was like, wow, the twists and the turns and like, you never saw it coming. There's nothing right now that is like, wow, I didn't see that coming.
No.
Can you name one from any company?
I am behind on MLW.
Okay.
So I can't really say that. MLW is probably my favorite. I'm just so far behind on it. I like the storylines on the two independents here in Georgia that I go to the most more than anything else. I'm really more invested in seeing what happens between the factions there and some of the heels than I am on anything.
And that goes to show you, they're trying to write stories when the major products, which you should already know off the top of your head, be like, oh, I know this story. And you don't, because there isn't one. Yeah. And that's my biggest problem with wrestling right now. Cause I was just on another podcast the other day and they asked me about what I think about Cody Rhodes saying there's no writers.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't mind it. I just think there should be at least a couple writers that work hand in hand with the wrestler.
Yeah.
I'm more of when I was in football, I'm more of a structure kind of guy. I need to know, I want the game plan. I need to know. I'm not one of those players that are just going to run it. Like, you have receivers that are just going to run out there and run around like a Des Bryant.
Yeah.
Like his strategy was run around and Tony will find him. Mm-hmm. But there's other quarterbacks and receivers that don't work like that. Yeah. So, and I'm one of those people, especially with wrestling, is I want to know where the story's going in 7 months. Because then I can give you everything, and that's what I think would work hand in hand is if the writers sat down with the wrestlers and said, because a lot of times in wrestling, we went through this whole period of, we tried to find the wrestler to fit the story rather than write the story for the wrestler.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think more companies would do so well if they wrote half the character and then wrote the story for the character.
Because
look, the best successful things were all stories thrown away. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin's first story did not fit him. And then he broke his neck and they're all like, okay, we'll write a new story for this character. And boom.
Yeah.
You got Stone Cold Steve Austin. Mm-hmm. The Rock. Rocky Maivia did not work out.
Nope.
And then they wrote a character for his personality. For something that he's comfortable with. Mm-hmm. And guess what? He ran away with it. And I think that's what we need more in wrestling is we're sitting down with the wrestler and being like, okay, where can we go with you? Give me your ideas.
Yeah.
What are you comfortable with? And I think you're going to get a lot farther with a lot of wrestlers and give them more opportunities for greater stories is if you talk to them and be like, find out what they're comfortable with. Not every wrestler is the same. Yeah. So where are you going to go in the story? And, one of the best errors I liked was that I always liked the way Paul Heyman built stories. Paul Heyman had stories within stories. Yeah. He always knew to be building up somebody. So when he was done with one story, that story took over. But that story interlapped in the story that he was telling you the first time. Yeah. So, example, like the same time he was building Edge on SmackDown, he was building Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, and JBL. Mm-hmm. But he was telling you the Edge story the whole time. But when the Edge story ran its course, he was able to move up Eddie Guerrero. Mm-hmm. I always loved the way he did that. I always thought that was kind of brilliant in writing. Is SmackDown was building superstars, and why Raw was having one superstar.
Yeah. I can see that. Yes,
and because Paul's very good at using low budgets. He's like, okay, well, yeah, I don't have $1 gazillion for these guys, so I'll make 9 of them. And everybody will be a star. And he was very good at that because Paul, I always say this, a promoter is a head coach. That's his job.
Yeah.
His job is to put the right people in the right positions. And I'm not saying put this guy in the main event. He puts the right people in the right positions for everybody to succeed. And a lot of promoters don't do that. And that's why you don't see certain people be successful that should be successful, is because you're putting them in the wrong opportunity in the wrong spot.
Mm-hmm. I totally get what you're saying, because the promotions around here that are killing it, they're booked 6 months out. They have a long-term plan with a storyline, and some of their storylines last an entire year. Like, they have a whole thing, and they will take you through the arc of the whole storyline and make you enjoy it. It's fascinating.
And that's how you build relationships between fans and wrestlers.
I went to 2 shows this weekend. The first one drew 608. The second one drew 651. Here in Georgia, that's unheard of. You know, that never happens. But they're both super focused on storyline.
And let me ask you a question. Did fans participate? Did they yell? Did they cheer? Did they boo?
Oh yeah. Just ripping
and that's what it's all about. And and our job as wrestlers and promoters and everything in between is to make sure everybody leaves that building with an experience. Mm-hmm. With an experience. I'm not saying good, bad, indifference. I'm saying with an experience. Because me and Odison's goal is, the number one thing is not the spots we do in our match, is did we tell a good story, and are you going to remember us? That's mine and Odison's number one motto. Mm-hmm. Are you going to remember us when we talk about our matches? Like, because that's important to me. Mm-hmm. Because I want you to get your money's worth.
Oh, definitely. I can see that totally. It's y'all have I'm not going to say image, but y'all have that persona of these 2 vicious, big, ass-kicking guys. And I can see where that like a Terry Gordy type thing, where you get out there and you scare people, and the fans see that they're scared of what y'all can do to the other guys. And that
our thing is always what we pride ourselves on is our intensity.
Yeah.
And mm-hmm. Me and Odinson know that we're not going to be the rascals. We're not. That's Dez and them. That's their thing. They go and flip. We ain't going to be Penta and Ray.
Yeah.
That's their things. They flip. We ain't going to be the Young Bucks. They kick people. Mm-hmm. We're going to beat you up. That's what we are. Our style, like Tajiri said it the best. I get what you are when you come through that curtain. Yep. You scare the shit out of me. Literally. That's perfect. And that's what Tajiri said. He goes, stay that way. Mm-hmm. He goes, that's who you are. That's your identity. He goes, you're intense. He goes, he goes, keep that. And I won't forget that from Japan, is Tajiri just saying, he's like, I get what you are when you walk through that curtain and you scare the shit out of me.
Yep.
and that's coming from broken English.
Yeah, but that's perfect though, because he's a guy that understands that kind of thing. He understands it, but he's been there forever.
Oh, the most favorite person I've ever worked, Tajiri.
Oh God,
brilliant.
Oh, that's so cool.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely, like, just to see his mind work, brilliant. Just like, I cannot say more good things about Tajiri. Like, I actually love all the ECW guys, because Dreamer's amazing, and but all their minds work alike. It's kind of creepy. Like, it's almost like this hive mind. I don't know, but they're genius behind wrestling. They're so good at hiding what people would call weaknesses. Uh-huh. Like, all of them. It's not just Tajiri. It's like Tajiri, Tommy, Bubba. Like, they're so good at knowing what can't be done, so they don't even, they build the match of what is good.
Yeah.
And they just take out all the nonsense. And they're just so good at it. Like, things you wouldn't even think of. Like, Tajiri, we were in a feud with Tajiri through All Japan, our tournament. Mm-hmm. And Tajiri just built this awesome story. Just absolutely awesome. Like, and part of me is upset that I didn't come up with it myself, because it was so good. And I pride myself for trying to, be innovative, different, and smart. And he just took something so simple and made it work. And I was just, he told the Miss story with me and Odinson. And I was like, it didn't all click to me to the exact time where he wanted it to click. And I was like, and when it did, I was like, it's so good. Like, I look at Odinson and I was just like, that was so good. That was so, like, I was like, that story was so good. Like, why was it so good? Like,
that's cool.
It was just, and it was all just little simple things. And it just shows you, like, wow, you're always going to learn no matter what you think. And it was just, and I don't know. I can't say more good things about Tajiri. I can't wait to wrestle him again. You know,
cool.
Actually wrestling a lot of the people in Japan was easier I felt like it was easier to wrestle in Japan than it is in America.
How? How is that?
You don't get to talk. You just fight.
Oh.
It's a more natural thing. There's a language barrier.
Yeah.
So in America, American wrestling's like a Michael Bay movie. Everything needs to blow up.
Okay.
Like, that's American wrestling. Everything is like how wrestlers think of matches, how everything. Japanese have a more simplistic way of thinking of, and when we usually say simplistic as bad, no, the simplistic is good. They're like, Americans tend to run around the block just across the street.
Yeah, yeah.
With their wrestling. How many matches have you been like, no, like, if I see one more guy powerbomb a guy and roll him backwards to give him a knee, I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm like, you just powerbombed a man.
Pin him.
Like, yeah. I was like, it's a powerbomb to just roll him over to give him a knee.
Yeah.
I was like, or to roll him over to give him another move. I go, that annoys me so much about American wrestling is this concept of combination moves. Like there's like points that you get for like hitting him multiple times. I'm like, why don't you just knock him out? I was like, mine knows. I'm like, I'm just going to throw him really hard into the wall. I think that's going to work rather than kick him 30 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, my strategy is for the guy not to get up. Why am I going to sit there with combo kicks like I'm in a Bruce Lee movie? Like, Japanese wrestling doesn't do that. They hit you.
Yeah.
And try to make sure you don't get up. Like, in American wrestling, it's like, okay, now I'm going to hold this guy's hand. And that's the most annoying move in wrestling. I'm sorry, I have to get this off my chest.
Okay.
When dudes hold people's hands just to climb to the top rope to do some lucha jumpy springy boardy thing, I push the guy right off. Every time, I just push him off. Let him fall into the crowd. I'm not going to hold your hand, bro. We in a fight. I was like,
exactly.
Like, I love Brody King, but it makes no sense for some dudes to hold this big ass dude's hands while he jumps on the top rope to flip himself over for an arm drag with his fingers. I'm like, you 6'4", brother. I'm like, just hit him. I'm like, don't hold his hand, just punch him in the face. I was like, what? To me, that move is like, why are these guys holding his hands? Like, and first of all, how good is your grip? How good is your grip? Like, are you that strong that these guys can't pull their hands away from you? Like, you're in the wrong business. You need to be an arm wrestler, man. Like, am I wrong?
No,
like,
what you're saying is 100% right, because it's that, what's the word I'm looking for? You can only suspend your disbelief so far.
Well, this is what my problem is everybody that goes after Joey Ryan for his like, Joey Ryan is a comedy wrestler. He does not shy away from that. He tells you, I am a comedy wrestler. First of all, Joey Ryan's move is the most protected wrestling move in the history of wrestling. It never not works.
Yeah.
Think about that.
And
nobody kicks out of his finish.
And everybody kicks out of everybody's finish right now.
Exactly. So, what ruins wrestling to me is that lucha style. But does that mean that I'm wrong or right? No. A lot of people love it. I just personally, to me, that's my disbelief. When every dude waits on the outside of the thing for some dude to dive on him, that's 130 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was literally paid I went to school in college and they gave me a scholarship to make sure a dude that's 360 pounds can't get to my quarterback, so he has to push me. So you're saying that the dude that's 130 pounds jumping on me, I can't catch? Literally, I don't care if he does a springboard, a flippy, you're 130, 170, 180, 100. You can even be 200 and some odd pounds. I still can catch you.
Yeah.
I'm 300 pounds. So that's my disbelief. Why does everybody just wait there?
Yeah. Yeah. Something like that. It's hard to explain, and it makes it look, it's not necessary. It makes it look bad, in my opinion.
Well, it makes you to me, it makes it look like you called this. Mm. That's blatantly what that is. And now, I don't say that it doesn't have its place, but the way Rey Mysterio does it, he makes sure you never see it.
Yeah.
Look at the good luchadors. Make sure you don't see that stuff coming. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Those are guys you need to study. But just to have a large man grab somebody's hand and jump on the top rope, I'm cute, I guess. I'm I hold dudes' hands all the time. I'm married to one, but I don't see him giving me an arm drag out of it.
No.
It's just, to me, that's the disconnect. Mm-hmm. And America has a hard time with that. In Japan, they don't really do that. Mm-hmm. They're more physical based. Uh-huh. It's very physical. It is a fight. And me and Odinson, I think that's why we preferred it better, or why we succeeded more, because that's our style.
Yeah.
It's harder for me and Odinson in America than it was in Japan.
I can see that. I can totally see
that. Because it's hard to, like I was saying, for many years in America, for the past 12 years, small guys have been booked like they're big guys. So when me and Odinson show up, they still want to have their big guy moveset. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, I get exactly what you're saying. And it doesn't work against big guys.
At 5'9", 5'10", I'm 300 pounds. It's going to be really hard to German me. It's going to be really hard to give me your strong style lines when your line is below my chest.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things I saw a big dude duck a line.
From a smaller guy?
And I actually think X-Pac saw the same thing I did, because he tweeted about it. And he was just like, why would he duck? Why would the big man duck? Like a little guy threw a line, and the big guy, it just made everybody look awkward. I'm like, you're big. I'm like, his line isn't gonna hurt you.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. We've been taught that guy can do it. And I think that one of the things we need to start doing in America that would help a lot is protecting everybody's sizes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that would help independence a real lot, is we all take a step to protect each other on our sizes. I believe the wrestling show should be everybody, small to big to little to, you need your Barringtons and you need your Rey Mysterios. Mm-hmm. You need that. It's a wrestling show.
It's a variety show.
Yes, but you don't need everybody Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
And I think we have a huge problem, especially as you can see, like with a lot of the Lucha signings of late. Mm-hmm. That's going to hurt Lucha. That's going to really hurt Lucha a lot. Like, I think that's a negative trend. All these companies going very hard at Lucha wrestlers.
Uh-huh. And bringing them in and putting them on American
I just think it's going to hurt everyone. Because one, not everybody's a Lucha wrestler. So, example. Penta and Ray are amazing. And Penta versus me and Otis will have a great match. But it's not going to be the Lucha match that everybody has with Penta and Ray.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying there? I think in America, we've come to this thing is like, okay, we need to bring in guys that can only do Penta and Ray's moveset and have them only wrestle those guys. Well, I've seen Penta and Ray do the same match over and over and over again because it's not their fault. It's just a variation of the same match because the people booking it only book them versus other Lucha wrestlers.
Yeah.
I like different styles going at each other.
Yeah, we had a Lucha match here where Ray Fury and I can't remember the other guy, but it was in a 16-foot ring in front of like an American wrestling crowd, and it went over like a fart in church. And it was a phenomenal match. It just wasn't had you brought in Ray Fury versus a different style, like you're saying, it would have been so much better. Because
then it shows what he can actually do.
Yes, a contrast.
Because Lucha is a very smooth art. It's a very smooth and nice and it's Spanish. It's like a sexy language,
mm-hmm.
you know. And the wrestling style is very smooth and a sexy wrestling style. There's no grittiness to it. And when they wrestle, you see that it's like whoa, flip, do, bump, dump, and you're like wow. But when you get that's you're at that point, are you watching the wrestler or are you watching the moves?
Uh-huh.
And wrestling's about watching the wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, and in Georgia, and especially with Southern wrestling,
mm-hmm.
Southern wrestling doesn't care about the moves.
No.
They don't. It's not who they are. They care about the athlete. They care about, they care about that style. And just like you said, a lot of the lucha is based on, the reaction is based on the moveset they do, mm-hmm. not the wrestler they are.
Yeah.
So Ray was killing it out there,
yeah.
But what he normally gets as a reaction for flip, land on his feet, give a Superman pose is not going to go over in Georgia because they're like, okay.
Yeah. I want to see the slightly overweight guy who I identify with.
Exactly. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, well, just hit him out of the air or just do this. But that's how I do when I wrestle lucha guys is, I was trained by a lucha guy. I know how to do lucha. I'm not smooth like they are, but I know how to take their moves and know how to do stuff. Mm-hmm. And, I always think that's also respectful for every wrestler is to learn everything so you know how to do it. Whether you're ever going to use it or not, mm-hmm. I think it's a respectful thing to do is to be able to have everything in your arsenal just so when it comes to it, you can grab. I think every athlete should do that. But we're at this point now in wrestling is like, we're at a boom. Fans have choices. Now, there's consequences to everything. And one of the consequences is you're going to have to put in real work now. Mm-hmm. People have choices. So as a wrestler, you're going to have to perfect your craft. You're going to have to get good. Mm-hmm. Whereas, because fans expect more.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
They expect more because they have options. So they expect, a good show. I had tweeted this out the other day is like, at an independent show, do you expect it to be better than WWE? And surprisingly, a lot of people said yes. Well, they expected to be more creative, more innovative, more get closer to the wrestlers. It was funny because most of the people all answered they expect their independent show to be better.
Well, you have to define better. It's
better for them.
Yes.
Better,
individually better. Yes.
Better experience for them in wrestling. Do you have a better experience if you go to a WWE show, or do you have a better experience when you go to an independent show? Mm-hmm. Or I said, do you expect more out of a WWE show, or do you expect more out of an independent show? And everybody said they expect more out of an independent show.
I totally see that.
There was a couple people that said, I expect more out of WWE because they have money, blah, blah, blah. But most of them were just saying, I expect more because they're more innovative. They have more freedom. They have, and it was funny because that is an opinion that I think has changed over the course of a few years. Mm-hmm. You've been going to independent shows for how long?
Independent shows, over 2 years now. That's just when we started doing this, and I walked into my first independent show. I was a WE fan prior to that and only went to their stuff. I didn't even know the indie scene existed. And now I'm all in it.
And what do you prefer more? What do you have where do you feel that you can lose yourself more?
At an indie show.
And and I feel as though one of the things that I think helps independent wrestling is I think fans make friends with other fans over independent wrestling.
Yes. Exactly. Whereas
at WWE show, you don't have the connection with the person you're sitting next to.
Yep. I see the majority of the people at independent shows every show. I know the fans. I know a lot of the wrestlers because they come out and talk to you.
And that's what I say, that why independent wrestling shows all in general are very special is because of the camaraderie, is because I know for a fact you go to a WWE show, you're either with your family or you're bringing a friend, and you only talk to the person you come with. Mm-hmm. But at an independent show, you're kind of forced to talk to everybody around you.
Yeah.
So, you might be, the first show you go to, you might not talk to anybody, but if you go to a second show, somebody's going to say, oh, hey, weren't you at the last show?
Yep.
Oh, what do you think about this guy? Oh, this guy's good. And then you get to know everybody at the shows. Because, even traveling around Japan, we got to know who the people were that were going to be at every show. And a lot of the fans traveled with us,
cool.
Traveled the country with us. And it was really cool because I got to see, the way their fans do. And me and Odinson love that with every show we do around the country. Here, it's just like seeing people that, support us and that come to every show and that we've made fans over time, especially at Evolve. When we first came to Evolve, everybody hated us. We were terrible. I think we were called the power plant. I think everybody was calling us that we were from the power plant. In WCW. I was like, I would have took it. I was like, they had a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
and I remember Riddle pulling us aside and say, bro, they called me Baby Lesnar for a year.
Evolve crowds are a little saltier in my experience than some others.
And he goes, the thing about independent fans, especially, he goes, you have to earn their respect. Mm-hmm. And I was like, it's different. He goes, because if you're in WWE, you kind of already have that respect.
Yeah.
It's you have the job, it's embedded. With independent wrestling, you don't have that respect. You have to earn their respect. Mm-hmm. And it's a crazy concept, cause it's like, you're not over right away. You have to work as the independents. You literally have to work for it. Mm-hmm. And it's like a badge of honor when you're able to do it organically. Yeah. And me and Odinson over this past 2 years have been able to do it organically rather than, this is the guys you're supposed to like. And I think a lot of it helps was when we first started, I'll be honest, we were buried because we weren't supposed to be brought in. We weren't, because big men weren't a thing and we're Southern wrestlers, and I don't think we're always underestimated. And I'm not saying this as a negative thing. I'm just saying a lot of people underestimate us because big men have that stigma of not being able to do stuff. And then once people realize, wait, they don't really suck. Like, oh, they're not that bad. Oh, okay. Oh, they're not going away. Oh, okay. Oh, they're popping up here. Oh, that was a cool thing. And like, so eventually they start to grow and get behind you because then they're like, they watch you and they watch your grind and they watch how hard you work. And then they're all like, wow, I kind of respect this person now. And that's independent wrestling in a nutshell. Whereas if you get hired by WWE, it's like, okay, well, yeah, he's already there. We have to cheer or boo for him. You know, where independent wrestling is like, I've seen crowds, like you just said, nothing, no reaction. People, and I'd be like, wow, that guy's awesome. Why aren't they reacting? And it's just like, certain independent fans are just, you have to earn their respect.
Oh yeah. You can, if you were, the guys that go to shows, if you were to, like the fans and the guys that write for the Georgia wrestling websites, if you were just to describe the people in the crowd to them, they could tell you exactly what show you were at without knowing anything else because the crowds are so different in so many different places and so like divided as to their different reactions. I mean, even nearby promotions that are nearby, the crowds are dramatically different.
Well, it was example. We were at New South, and me and Odinson are very over at New South.
Yeah,
and we're their champions. But even in our debut, we were over. Like just the crowd just was crazy for it, and it was against like a team that they had already liked, and they just wanted us to kill them. I don't know what that was about, but it was kind of fun. They were just chanting "kill them." And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But, we were at a show and our reaction and Cobb goes, who are you guys? And cause Cobb didn't really have that huge of a reaction because it's not that ROH fan base. It's a Southern fan base.
Yeah.
And that's different. The ROH fan base, the Evolve fan base is more northern based wrestling fan base. Yeah. I'd say it's harder to work in the South than it is the North. And everybody's like, oh no. And I'm like, no, fans are way like when it comes, like, because fans don't care about, so you literally have to work. Like they don't care about your flip. They don't. They don't. Like, it's not Southern wrestling to them because Southern wrestling to them is Dusty Rhodes.
Exactly.
Southern wrestling to them is like personality.
Yep.
Southern wrestling is difficult, and Northern wrestling is more move based. You know, more intense competition. I have what they think is two athletes going at it sort of thing, you know, and they, you know, now they're getting out of that. Now they're getting more to the Southern way of thinking about wrestling. Yeah. Because Southern wrestling also has has fun with the wrestler. Yeah. You know what I mean? They'll chant, they'll sing, you know, and now I see that in Northern fans, especially Chicago. Chicago loves to play with wrestlers.
Yeah. Yeah. Chicago crowds are infamous.
Philly is amazing, but Philly's like a different amazing. Philly's amazing just because they just hate everybody. It's pretty amazing. They're just intense, and it's a cool experience. And that's what I love about wrestling in America is every place you go is a different. It's a different style of working because every fan base is different. Just like you said, every fan base is different. Whereas in Japan, every fan base is exactly the same. They like the exact same style of wrestling.
Well, are they? I get that it's a smaller country, and they're more of a unified people, if I'm not mistaken, as far as the way their social structure is very unified, very so. You know, their belief systems are very much shared. Yes.
As in America, individuality is a very big concept to us. And so it translates into our wrestling, with individuality and the fan bases react, you know, and that's what I love about traveling with wrestling is the fan bases are all crazily different. And they're all crazy. They're not just crazy. Everybody's equally crazy in America.
Yeah.
It's just, they're crazy about different things. And it's pretty cool to see. And it's pretty cool to see what they react to. That's one of my favorite things is I always enjoy who they react to. Like, cause certain times, you know, like I like to see crowds, one of my favorites is I don't always enjoy his wrestling, but I enjoy his shtick is Effie.
Yes. Yes.
I don't always enjoy his wrestling. He knows that. He doesn't always enjoy my wrestling. So, but we're very much supportive of each other. And I always enjoy to see how crowds react to him.
I've gotten to see him live once and met him, and he was super nice to me. Somebody I'd really like to talk to some more and get on the show and get his viewpoint on some stuff, because he's kind of doing something so different that I can see where he would be over huge in some places, not in others. He was at a show in Cornelia, Georgia at Landmark Arena, which is small town wrestling, but it's traditional Southern small town wrestling, and he was over huge. It's just, his personality is so over the top. He can get over, you know, just by winning the crowd over. And it was awesome.
And that's what I'm saying. Effie is Southern wrestling.
Yes.
And that's why I say is like, I always get interested when we're in the North together, how it's going to work. Because Effie is a show.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, he's a show. I always, I hate the comment when usually a lot of, podcasters ask me, so what's different between, all you LGBTQ wrestlers? I'm like, we're all extremely different. Every one of us. I'm like, literally the only thing we share in common is the fact that we're all gay.
Yeah. I look at everybody like they're just wrestlers.
Yeah,
and how they define themselves different.
And that's a good way to look at it, but I also, me and Effie have been very vocal on this point, and I do think it does hurt us. It does.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to end part 1 of Myron's interview with Mike Parrow. There was, you know, like such a great interview that it was going for so long. They ended up going about 2.5 hours. So we decided to break this up into 2 parts. Check us out next Monday when you can catch part 2. But as always, we always suggest that you're a Patreon member over at patreon.com/tappedoutpod. You could find this whole interview early. And if you're actually listening to it, part 2 is already there as well. So something that we like to do is that all of the interviews go up usually about a week early or so, sometimes longer, on our Patreon page. So definitely check us out. But make sure you're also subscribing to us at Tapped Out Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Of course, you can always follow us on our website at tappedoutpod.com. You can always email us questions, anything you got, at tappedoutpod@gmail.com. But like I said, the best place to follow us is on Patreon, patreon.com/tappedoutpod. Get every bit of content that we offer. Get the interviews early, get show prep that Myron and I do for our shows. There's some things we just do exclusives to Facebook, some stuff we go to Twitter, but everything that we offer is available on our Patreon page. So definitely check it out, and don't forget you can sign up and get some really cool stuff like t-shirts. You can get even a guest spot on one of our shows with the right level tiers there that are available. But we appreciate it again, and check us out. We'll be back next week on the interview on Monday for part 2 of Myron's big interview with Mike Parrow.